Shaz here with another TBONTB. In these videos I talk about new makeup and I try to talk myself out of buying anything on camera. Hopefully in the process I will inspire you to also say no to all the makeup consumerism. You probably have a dupe already for what's releasing. Or you could just watch for entertainment, that's also okay. If that sounds good, don't forget a thumbs up and let's get into the video. Coffee as always, and our candle today. We're going into the spooky months. I have my spooky on with the earrings, and our candle is maple sugar from Trader Joe's. I mentioned that I'm not moving right now, but I want to move in a year, so I want to use up all the things that I have. And I have a lot of candles, a lot of spooky season candles like this one. And the other day I went to TJ Maxx. Now is the best time to go to TJ Maxx for spooky stuff because they have their spooky thing on before they're all out. And now that we're talking about this, you'll know that I have not done nails in a couple of weeks because I was just giving my nail beds a rest. These I bought from TJ Maxx last year. They're press-ons from Kiss, one of my faves. If you want me to make any nail related videos, let me know in the comments below. But today, for our palette, we are going to use this highly requested palette, which is Bella Beaute Bar's collab with Utra. I really enjoyed duping this. Look at how beautiful it is. So this is what we're using. I haven't yet videoed the duping of this, but it's gonna come soon. All the channels that I use for the contents of this video are in the description below if you're curious. Let's get started with this one, Nomad Cosmetics Witch City palette. I had talked about Nomad coming up with something. Obviously they always come up with something during spooky season, which is a great time of the year to release stuff. And this is the palette, and I like the color story. I think it's great, very fall appropriate, very colorful. So I went ahead and duped this palette for you all. Now, unfortunately, I did not have a large empty magnetic palette because I'm running out of my magnetic palettes to put these in, but the video is gonna come, and because I've duped it, I'm not gonna buy it. I already have a video about what things I'm interested in picking up and what not, and this palette is gorgeous, but nowadays when I look at things, I'm like, I can dupe this. So obviously the part of the country that's represented here is Salem, Massachusetts, and it's also releasing with these three also gorgeous bullet lipsticks. I don't think they ever had bullet lipsticks, but I can't recall. I'm not really in the market for anything lip related. I actually need to do a huge lip declutter, and I already have a video about, you know, the things that I'm prioritizing this year, and non-magnetic palettes are not on that list. I'm going to tag the video for you all. Nomad does not make magnetic palettes, so this is not on the list. And now that we're talking about magnetic palettes, y'all, Colourpop is having a site-wide sale, and they have everything on the site on sale for 25% off, which is something you rarely see from Colourpop. Now, they might have the same sale or even better sales during the holidays. So if you want to wait, or if you can wait, maybe you want to do that. But they're having a sale for the Labor Day that's coming up, and they are having a lot of their palettes on sale. And I've always been telling you all, if you're missing certain shades in your collection, consider picking up palettes from Colourpop. And by this I mean, if you're like, I'm missing berries, you can pick up Orchid You Not palette, and it gives you a whole 9 pans of different shades of berries. Or if you're missing, I don't know, lavender, you can pick up something else from Colourpop that brings those shades. Why? Because all of Colourpop palettes are magnetic. So brands like that are magnetic, that also have like monotone, monochromatic types of palettes, are great for the concept of duping. We're going to talk about a lot of magnetic palettes in this video. I'm already excited about them. Another full palette reveal that was not fully revealed when I did my last video is this one, Broken Jewels palette from DD Signature. Now, DD is another brand that does magnetic palettes and is a brand on my list of brands to try. But for this palette, I actually duped it already. I didn't feel like the palette was capturing my attention enough to really want to drop cash on it. And this side is the palette. I replaced the black with a very different shade just to pizzazz things up, and I'm going to use this in a look in a different video. We're going to see how that works. Let me know if you want to see a look with this. But because of that, I'm not going to go pick this up, although DD Signature is a brand I have my eye on. When I sit to dupe these palettes, I start realizing how big my collection is. And I identify some shades in my collection that I did not know I had. Like, if you watched my last duping video where I duped Ocean Jewel, I used a few shades from Shroud Cosmetics that I had never used. I forgot I owned those two palettes. Quickly want to talk about this because Gourmand Girls keeps talking about it, and I'm becoming a little bit more curious because what I didn't realize when I talked about this last week is it looks like there is also a palette. Is that a palette? Trapped? That's a palette, isn't it? So I'm curious, mostly for the purpose of duping, because their last palette, Mocha Time, I found quite interesting from the color story perspective. However, Gourmand Girls is not magnetic. Pans are not magnetic, so we're not doing that. I actually feel like I'm going to do a declutter video, and I think I'm going to get rid of a lot of my palettes that are not magnetic because I just don't reach for them. And friends, newsflash, I got a job offer. And I thought to myself that I deserve a gift for all the hard work and all the perseverance that I showed in the past, 9 months or so of job search. And talking about gifts, I have mentioned before that I've been looking for empty magnetic palettes. And obviously, if I'm buying empty magnetic palettes, I want to buy things that are a little bit more special. This is, for example, from the Miss A store, and I don't mind buying things like this. I think this was $10 or something like that. But I don't want to buy the same exact magnetic palette with the same design. So I was looking for magnetic palettes that have different designs so that when I look through my gigantic collection, and I stack my collection on the side, that's why I'm looking over there, I can identify those palettes easily. And I found this brand on Etsy, and I want to ask if anybody has used this or bought anything from them because I've been eyeing them for a good few months. I even wanted to pick a few items up from them during Memorial Day sale, but they're a UK brand, so shipping to the US is quite pricey, and I was just like, I don't have a job. Do I want to put in an order? But now that I do have a job, I do want to put an order. I think the designs are so pretty, and the prices are pretty much on par with anything else you'd buy, even the ugly, boring packaging magnetic palettes that you find on Amazon that are probably purchased on Alibaba. Now for the extreme bouginess, we have this from Hourglass. These palettes a few years ago were $80, now they're $94. Honestly, for $94, it should do my laundry. Yeah. I mean, I don't even put anything on my face most days other than moisturizers and SPF. You know, we're getting to those ages when all of that matters a whole lot. I think I've mentioned this story before. A few years ago, when these were still $80 during the holiday sales, and I had some coupons and other things from Sephora, I bought one of these palettes. I could not bring myself to use an $80 palette. So I didn't even take it out of the packaging. I returned it. Another thing in hindsight is, I don't know if this even shows up on a lot of people's skin. If you're a person of color, does this show up on your skin? Now the packaging is gorgeous, but I've noticed that Hourglass is releasing kind of the same thing in different packaging, and I just want to make sure nobody's getting lured to buy like multiples of these just for the packaging. The value of this is not really the packaging. The value of this is the product inside, which, by the way, has an expiration date. So it's not going to last forever. You don't need like 5 of this. So if you absolutely have to this, please just buy one. Okay, let me get started on the look. I want to use again Painterly from MAC like last time because I want to just go through stuff that I have. Now, friends, you all know that I've been having a low buy, mainly driven by the fact that I have so much makeup that I need to use, mainly driven by the fact that I've decided to dupe what's releasing, and then also driven by the fact that I don't have a job. Now, at this point, I have a job offer, but what ended up happening this year was that because I didn't have a job, I ended up just going on a no buy, like not buying any makeup or anything makeup related. Now that I got an offer, the first thing that I thought about was picking some stuff up from the imminent Labor Day sale that's happening this weekend, but I didn't see a lot of sales. Now, I don't know if brands are also probably not doing so well. And then the second thing that came to me is that we're, like 2 months from the holiday sales, and I might as well just persevere and buy things during the holiday sale. And do you guys have any idea how much money I'm saving by not buying any makeup? Yeah, that feeling is such a good feeling because I'm already in a hole. I'm in a hole because I've not had a job for so long. So now I also saw this one, and the reason I'm even talking about it is because I love my melody. So these kinds of things always catch my attention, and I want to mention to you all, this is yet another example of things that they release that get your attention and you might feel interested in them, but then if you remove the association with the franchise, you realize that product you're never going to use. I mentioned about these things in my consumerism video. I'll tag that for you all. Don't go buy stuff like this if the content of the palette is not stuff you're going to use. Because in this case, for me, for example, first of all, I will never reach for a face and eye palette. That's just not my thing. The general packaging and whatnot is not my aesthetic. It looks a little bit too bulky, and the more bulky it is, the more I become concerned about how sustainable the packaging is, and that really matters to me. I've talked about not liking plastic packaging and trying to stay away from plastic packaging. Now, sometimes it's impossible in this day and age, but generally, and then the makeup inside honestly looks like Claire's makeup. But separate from that, I see the whopping $50 price tag, so it's clearly not for kids. I'm sure it's for somebody, but not for me. So I saw this from Viseart. This is a gorgeous palette, but I can dupe it. And I can dupe this very easily. Now, Viseart is definitely a brand I like to try at some point. And the beauty of Viseart is that it has magnetic pans. So definitely a brand I like to try when they have a sale. The two shades that really catch my attention in this palette are the blue and the deep maroon. And I'm not going to go buy a palette just for two shades. Let's also talk about this Kian and Freya 86's Breaking Cocoon collection. I've done dupes of Freya 86's other collabs with Look Healthy Store brands in the past. Now, these color stories are not my aesthetic because they don't look good on me. Now, I recognize there is sort of this Asian beauty aesthetic that is much more minimalistic than what I do. And of course, that's a matter of preference. So this could totally be your thing. It's just not something I would gravitate towards. So the right hand palette is a little bit too bland. It's just too neutral. And the left hand palette, those shades are not going to look up on my skin. And of course, both palettes are more on the neutral side. So because of that, I'm not going to go buy any of these. I also probably will not dupe them, but I wanted to talk about it because like the packaging is so beautiful and it's just very, very sleek. I also don't think these palettes are magnetic, so that's another reason why I'm not going to be buying any, because I'm not going to be gravitating towards using these palettes. But if you know different and that they are magnetic, please notify us in the comments below. So Unearthly Cosmetics revealed this Gothic Romance collection. The palette looks like a little bit of a different variation of All Done Up from Blend Bunny, which is a palette I already own. So clearly I'm not going to go buy a palette that looks like a dupe of something I already own, but Unearthly Cosmetics palettes, at least in the past, have all been magnetic. So I wouldn't be surprised if this also is. It's just $70 for 20 pans. No, I'm not doing that. That's just too expensive. I'm not going to repeat the reason why I'm not picking non-magnetic palettes up. I already have a video for that tagged below. Y'all, let's get started before it's too late. I'm using a jumble of different brushes. This is a very spring summery sort of an aesthetic, so I'm glad they released it now. Let's go into this light mint shade. I'm putting this across my lid. Let's now use this shade that I've never used. This is from Copacetic. It's a gorgeous purple. When I don't have any pressure for purchasing makeup is the best time to make a list about what I want because I have time to sit and really think about it. However, my focus for the holiday sales is going to be on updating my equipment. I'm now going under my lash line. I'm now going to use a smaller brush from Glam Shop and going into that shade and adding a little bit of the redness here. Now friends, I always do more blending off camera and towards the end to make sure everything is seamlessly blended. Also under. Friends, if you've been a follower for a while, you know that Narimi is one of the brands that I've been wanting to try before Look Healthy Store even existed. In one of my videos where I talked about the brands I wanted to try, I believe in 2023, I talked about Narimi. So I've been eyeing them for quite some time and I still haven't tried them. And they are available at C Beauty Mall and I also think Look Healthy Store as well. And these are 2 new palettes that they have. I've heard amazing things about their quality. Evidently, their pans are also magnetic. Can one of you confirm if you've used them? Not buying, but both of these palettes are gorgeous. I can dupe both of them. In fact, I wanted to dupe the lower one, but it's definitely a brand I will try at some point. Okay, let's continue with the look. I'm going to use Base Booster from the good old BH. Right below, y'all, if you're missing BH. I ask this every time and nobody writes down. I'm like, am I the only person who's missing BH? Like the other day I was looking at all of the BH palettes I have and I feel like I want to depot them. I need to learn how to depot palettes, everybody. Okay, this is going here. I want to use a few shades here. The first one is this Beauty Sprinkle Whips from Divina, and the second one is this Beauty Memory Lane from Copacetic. So this Sprinkle Whips, I would call this duochrome. I really wouldn't call this multichrome. And it's going here. And because it's duochrome, I don't really feel like it needs to go on a super large space. It can just be on a relatively small space, but it's gorgeous. And honestly, you could just do this across the lid and be done with it. And I think this is from the Candy Something collection of Divina, and I should have a swatch of this collection. This collection is very fall-offy, so it's gonna fall off across your face. I need to clean it up. Now let's use this one. I've been wanting to use this one, and this is gonna pizzazz this look up. I'm gonna use a smudger brush. This is from BH, yes. And this shade, y'all, it's an insanity of a shade. Let me show you. I don't think you can see it because it's one of those like multichromes that's like blue from one angle and green from another angle, but hopefully when I do a swatch video of this palette dupe, you'll see what this looks like. So I'm putting it here. And then I'm going to bring it down. Okay, unfortunately, what I see in the viewfinder doesn't show the beauty of this look, but I'm going to bring the camera at the end and show you the look from close up. We have a few more things to go over. Let's talk about this one. Shrek and Colourpop. Shrek released when I wasn't young enough to appreciate it as a kid's movie and not an adult enough to appreciate it as an adult's movie. So, yeah. Never really had a thing for it. And I also wonder if you all care too much about it because I asked you all if you want me to dupe it and it got the lowest score in the poll in my posts tab. So I suppose you guys didn't want me to dupe it, so I didn't dupe it. The other thing is that if you replace that maroon with a brown, this palette is yet another brown to green palette, which is like literally every other palette that we see from, well, we've been seeing for years. So no. And of course, this main palette, which I never got to talk about because it hadn't revealed when I did my last video, Coalescence Palette from Bella Beaute Bar, which is a collaboration with Utra makeup. I'm unfamiliar with the creator, but you all wanted me to dupe this, so I'm supposing the creator is popular, and it's a gorgeous palette, which is why I duped it, because I didn't see a need for picking the palette up. Some shades in there in the palette look very shifty and sparkly, particularly that gold to pink one, and I try to use just as special shades with similar level of specialness on this one, so stay tuned for the dupe video. 4 singles also launched with this palette that go $15 to $16. The one called Radioactive is the one that really caught my attention, because that kind of a shade I don't think I have a dupe for. So definitely some of Bella Beaute Bar's singles are on my radar during the holiday sales. My hope is that they're going to bring a lot of stuff back and have a sale. One other thing that I really wish I had picked up from them in the past was a red hologram that they had that I did not pick up, and it's been living in my head rent-free for the past 2 years. And they haven't brought it back that I saw, but it is something that I'm very curious about. Generally, a red hologram doesn't have to be from Bella Beaute Bar, but Bella Beaute Bar had it at some point. If you've seen a red hologram, like true red, write the brand and the name of the shade in the comments below. Maybe there are other things out there that I just don't know exist already. Also, in the more than I can afford category, we have some Sonia G brushes, and I very conveniently don't have a price for them. I feel like everything I want to say I've said before. Like, each brush is probably $200 a piece, and it's a month of groceries, and no, not happening. Rusted Essence First Volume, Boohoo, Ripping My Effin' Heart Out, and A Path of the Dark Side palettes are back for a pre-order between August 29th and September 8th. Y'all, don't go buy pre-orders. I don't think pre-orders are worth it. Probably not picking up pre-orders until foreseeable future. It's just not my thing. I have put pre-orders in that I never received, and I canceled them because I felt that by the time I would receive them, they would be irrelevant. Because we've been talking about Colourpop sale, I used Zuma Colourpop Ultra Blotted Lip. We have a few more. The first one is Harvesting of Cosmos, which is a Terra Moon's release of 15 singles curated for perfect autumn look. I like the aesthetic of this collection. You know, the shades really go well together. I could see this just being a palette by itself. I've mentioned before also that Terra Moon's is a brand I like to try from. I haven't purchased anything from them since 2023 or 2. So a lot of the stuff on their site I have not used or owned. I have a lot of stuff from them, but I think some of them have been discontinued. I'm thinking to myself that I've waited this long with a no buy, so I'm just going to power through it and pick stuff up during the holiday sales, just 2 months away. And y'all, in fact, I have another surprise with Terra Moons. I had some fun with makeup and ChatGPT, and you all are gonna see that video. Yeah, Terra Moons was on the list, I can tell you that. Blend Bunny is coming up with some new things. Not new palettes, but some new exciting things. First of all, I noticed that they released the Blends palette as magnetic. Did any of you know this? I was on their site because I think the first thing I'm gonna buy when I do go back into the buying habit is their Longing palette, the magnetic version, because I've been eyeing that. And it's not expensive. And I noticed the Blends is also now available as magnetic. You can't imagine how excited that makes me, because I rarely reach for my Blends palette. I think it's an amazing thing to have one or more rainbow palettes that are magnetic that you can use when duping palettes. Not to use it as a rainbow palette. Nobody reaches for a rainbow palette, let's be honest, but for duping. And I kept recommending the Alice Atlantis one for you, but realistically, even for myself, I feel like the Alice Atlantis one is a little large. Like, I'm not going to need that many shades. I have a dupe for a lot of them. But Blends, because I already own that palette, I was like, I can buy the magnetic one if they have a sale on it during the holidays, and sell the one that I already own, because I rarely use my own already existing one. Honestly, I'm also wondering if they're gonna release Dollhouse as magnetic. Like, I almost feel like if they release things as magnetic, I'm gonna buy the new version. I'm gonna sell the one that I already own, because I never reach for non-magnetic palettes. Another thing that they're releasing as magnetic, y'all, I know a lot of people wanted this palette and ended up not being able to get their hands on it because of the whole debacle So unfortunate. I have this palette. I even have a video about how amazing this palette is. One of my all-time favorite shades is here, Moody. This matte purple is everything. And I have been hoping that Blend Bunny would release this as magnetic, and they are. And I'm thinking, do I want to buy the new one and sell this one? If it's exactly the same shades, I might do that. I just need to make sure they're exactly the same thing, because I don't want to buy something new and be disappointed because the shade is different. Another thing I could do is buy the new palette and make a video for you all of whether the new palette is exactly the same as the old one. And our last thing from Blend Bunny is that they also released this one as magnetic. These are already available on their site. The only thing about this is that they have removed a row of neon pastels. And I really like this palette, and I wish they would not remove any shades from it. Because they've removed shades, I'm not so sure. I wish they would release all the shades, but this palette I also really like. So super excited about the fact that they're releasing their past palettes as magnetic. Now you all, I am somebody who do dupes for views. So it makes a little bit more sense for me to go buy maybe some of these palettes in a magnetic form so that I can use them to make content for you all. Don't feel like if you already own this palette and you're using it that you now need to go buy the magnetic one. That's not the purpose of why I'm saying these things. It's just I'm excited about it because it makes me now be able to make different kinds of content for you all and actually use these palettes in a particular format that unfortunately they didn't originally allow me to do that. With that, beauties, we come to the end of the video. If you enjoyed and watched this far, don't forget a thumbs up. Also, don't forget, as always, to write to me in the comments below what you wanted to pick up this week and you managed to talk yourself out of buying, or you failed at talking yourself out of buying. In the comments below, I love you all. I hope you have an awesome day, an awesome week. Happy Labor Day. And until next time, bye.